Welcome into First Pitch for Thursday, May 25th. I am Drew Martin alongside Brian Power, Tony Mejia, and Tokyo Brandon of WagerTalk.com. Guys, if you like baseball and sports betting overall, make sure to subscribe to the channel here, Wager Talk YouTube page, like the video. Trying to give out as many winners as possible. Going early here on the Thursday slate because, hey, there's a lot of day baseball, so wanted to get it out to you. We got our first hitter up here, our leadoff hitter, Brian Power. Guys, check him out, wagertalk.com. Thursday's a good day to do so. Half off all daily packages. Brian, what do you got for big game breakdown?
Okay, big game breakdown, looking at the Mets at the Cubs. So coming into the series, guys, the Mets probably felt pretty good about themselves as they'd won 5 in a row, not only sweeping the Guardians, including a doubleheader on Sunday, but also taking 2 from the MLB leading Rays. But what you have to understand is all 5 of those Mets victories, in fact, were by 1 run, which is pretty fortunate to pull off. And wouldn't you know it, the Mets have now dropped each of the first 2 games here at Wrigley, losing by scores of 7-2 and 4-2. And if that's not bad enough for the Mets, Carrasco is starting tonight, and he hasn't been very good this season. Battled injury, only made 4 starts, but he's winless with an 8.68 ERA and 1.56 WHIP. And the Mets don't even get to face Jameson Taillon anymore on Thursday. He was originally set to start for the Cubs. They'd lost all 7 of his starts this season, and the numbers were pretty gross. 8.10 ERA and a 1.73 WHIP overall. Last 3 starts, 13.03 ERA and 2.49 WHIP. So you can see why the Cubs pushed him back to Saturday. Instead, it's going to be Kyle Hendricks going. It's his first start, though, since July 5th of last year, coming off a shoulder injury. So with 2 questionable starters, guys, you're probably wondering how in the world do we have a total of just 7 runs set for tonight? Well, even by Wrigley standards, it's going to be a windy night at the ballpark. I've seen the forecast calling for 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, 50 degrees. It was chilly last night. There were only 6 runs scored again last night. Something else to note, this is fascinating to me, is the Mets are the only team in all of baseball that has not hit a first inning home run this season. If you think they could break that streak today, the Yerfie in this game is plus 100. But remember those weather conditions. 2 questionable starters and a low total. Hard to do this one, but I think we may see some runs early in this game. Mets and Cubs series finale on Thursday evening.
Thanks for that, Brian. Next up here, our 2-hole hitter, Tony Mejia. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Mejia Dinero. Tony, what do you got for big game breakdown for the Thursday slate?
Here's your big game breakdown for the first meeting of the season between the Phillies and the Braves. And if you have a good memory, you might remember that the 101-win Braves, last time they saw the Philadelphia Phillies, were marching off the field with their heads down after being upset 3-1 in the NLDS. And we know the Phillies obviously went on to the World Series. So this is going to be a very interesting scenario at Truist Field for the Atlanta Braves. They, again, are the kings of the mountain in the NL East. And the Phillies, again, are scuffling to start the season, coming in 4th in the division as action kicks off tonight. And so, the Phillies have actually been terrible on the road, so this will be the first of a 10-game road trip for them. They're 10-16, and it's a really tough spot in the season for them, but it's also a potential spot for a rebirth because they play the Braves for 4, the Mets for 3, and then they close out with the Nationals. This is the end of a 10-game homestand for the Braves, and it's a spot for them where they can create separation and again get some vengeance for what happened last season. But they haven't been very good at home either. They're actually much better on the road, 17-7 at home at Truist. They're 13-12. It'll be very interesting to see what happens tonight. Aaron Nola dominated them in Game 3 of the NLDS. They beat Steven Strider 9-1. That was kind of the turning point in that series. But the Braves have had some success against Nola throughout their careers. Starting tonight for Atlanta will be Dylan Dodd, a rookie, so nobody on the Phillies has seen them. Nola has had an Aaron Nola type season from what we've seen over the past couple of years, alternating great starts with subpar starts. He struck out a season-high 10 Cubs in his last time out in a dominant win. They won 12-3, and he had a huge lead at the beginning of the when he took the mound. The Phillies really staked him to a big lead. Dodd has been okay. He got lit up in his only home start by San Diego in a 10-2 loss Gave up 7 in 4 1/3. He looks like a fly ball pitcher, but small sample size on that. Only 7 Ks and 4 walks in 15 plus innings, so the whiff rate is low. He did win at St. Louis and at Miami, so he comes in 2-1. Phillies ranked 23rd in OPS against left-handed pitching, but they have hit 21 home runs against them, and Truist Park is a home run-friendly park. So I can understand why this is a pick 'em. You want to trust Nola more than you want to trust a rookie. We will see what happens in this contest. It's key. It's a really kind of a table setter for what will happen this weekend. So I want no part of the side. Total, I would lean to the over, but I'm going to give you a couple of player props to be on the lookout for as far as what I'm looking at here potentially to bet. Robert Acuna Jr. is really strong against Aaron Nola throughout his career in the regular season. 14 for 39, 4 doubles, 4 homers, 9 RBIs. That's a 359 average. Austin Riley under the radar, 18 for 45, batting 400, 5 doubles, 3 homers, 7 RBIs. You can bet Acuna's total bases over 1.5 at plus 105. If you're ambitious, you can bet him to hit a home run and you get 4-1 back. Or home hits, runs, and RBIs at minus 160. You know Acuna Jr. is going to be priced more than Austin Riley, so if you prefer him, Riley's hits, runs, and RBIs over 1.5 at minus 115. That's really friendly. I'm going to play that myself. His total bases prop over 1.5 plus 130. And if you bet Riley to hit a home run, he's paying plus 550. So it'll be a fun one. Phillies Braves, one of the more pivotal series this weekend. That's your big game breakdown of one of the best series to come here in this weekend as the NL East shakes out.
Thanks for that, Tony. Next up, our 3-hole hitter, Tokyo Brandon. Guys, of course, he's at Wager Talk. And hey, if you like betting Asian League baseball, Japanese baseball, we got a KBO as well. He's a guy to definitely check out. One of the top handicappers here at Wager Talk. Tokyo Brandon, what do you got for big game breakdown for the Thursday slate?
Thanks, Drew. For my big game breakdown, I am going to the marquee matchup of perhaps the day. The Toronto Blue Jays will take on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays are at home. We got Zach Eflin going against Alek Manoah. Manoah's been terrible this season, and Eflin, since going to Tampa, has been pitching way over his head. His numbers are far better than his career numbers. So something's in the water there in Tampa. He's been pitching pretty well. A couple other things to look at is the lineups and the bullpens. Tampa Bay Rays are one of the best teams. They have the best record by far in the entire league. One thing though, their bullpen is atrocious. It's really bad. I like to look at last 10 days, and their bullpen has a collective FIP of 7.22, which is almost unheard of. That's like KBO numbers. Their bullpen is atrocious. Toronto's bullpen is not great, but it's better than 7.22. Toronto's a good hitting team. In the season, they're averaging 4.8 runs per game, and I looked at this team total, and it was 3.5. And if I can get 3.5 with the Blue Jays here, I will take that. I know Eflin's a decent pitcher, but I don't think he's that good. Through his career, he has faced Blue Jay batters pretty well. I don't think 3.5 is a high enough number. This should be 4.5. So I'm going to bet the over 3.5 for the Toronto Blue Jays in this one. Even if Eflin has a good game, I don't think he'll go past 5 or 6 innings. Let the Toronto Blue Jays lineup, which is averaging 4.8 runs a game, get a hold of that 7+ FIP bullpen and put some runs on the board. They get 9 innings of at-bats as well since they're on the road. So I like the Blue Jays team total over 3.5 for my big game breakdown.
Turn it around here, guys. We got 4 best bets lined up for you. We're going to start off here with Bryan Power. Bryan, what do you got for best bets on the Thursday slate?
Thanks, Drew. And just a reminder on a 14-4 run in Major League Baseball right now, number one in MLB over the last 7 days. Not only that, number one in MLB going back to last October's epic playoff run, up 73.3 units during that time. Very proud of that, off a 4-1 Wednesday overall as well. Now, to today's best bet, we're going to talk Jays and Rays as well. You heard Brandon's big game breakdown there. I agree with a lot of what he had to say, but I'm going to be attacking this game in a different ways. Guys, as you know, I fancy myself as a bit of a contrarian. I've cashed certainly a few underdogs during that aforementioned 14-4 MLB run, but I could not get to the window today betting Alek Manoah and the Toronto Blue Jays, who are wrapping up this 4-game series with the best team in baseball. As Brandon pointed out, a number of metrics from last season suggested Manoah was going to regress heavily in 2023. Those include expected ERA, expected FIP, a batting average on balls in play, and strand rate. Everything said Manoah was going to have a down year this year, and unfortunately for the Jays, he's regressed far worse than anyone could have imagined. Velocity is down. Command has worsened. Walk rate has more than doubled. Strikeout rate is now down 10% from where it was 2 years ago. Among qualified starters, Manoah is third worst. This is out of 124 pitchers in strikeout minus walk rate, and he's got just one win in 10 starts to go along with a 5.15 ERA and 1.74 WHIP. So a pretty atrocious season, quite frankly, for Mr. Manoah. And on the other hand, Zach Eflin is having a career best year for Tampa Bay. Career best in terms of strikeout minus walk rate. The Rays are 7-1 when he's on the mound this year, including 5-0 at home, where Eflin's WHIP is 0.77. Certainly, everyone listening is aware of just how good the Rays have been this year, 23-5 at home. And if you remove that head-scratching 20-1 defeat on Tuesday, Tampa's outscored teams by 130 runs over 50 games, guys. I see them getting out to an early lead this afternoon. What I would do is lay the half run in the first 5 innings. I think that's the best bang for your buck here with the best team in baseball, Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay minus half a run, first 5 is today's best bets.
Good stuff, as always, from Bryan Power. Next up here, Tony Mejia. Guys, he knows his basketball. NBA finals right around the corner here. And hey, on the diamond as well. Check them out, wagertalk.com. A reminder, half off Thursday packages each and every Thursday till about the middle of summer here at Wager Talk. And check out Tony. But Tony, throw it over to you. Final thoughts, best bet for the show.
Well, thanks, Drew. I'm going to ride with my best bet in a second, but let me just notify you if you guys want to read my analysis. This is also my free play at wt.buzz/TM. You can get all my pick packages there, all promos. We're running a great site-wide promotion for every capper, the Wager Talk Summer Celebration. You get picks for under $6 a day from me or Bryan Power, Tokyo Brandon, anybody. So look forward to that. Check out our pages, and you can read my analysis on my best bet, which is something that Power talked about earlier, is the Cubs and the Mets wrapping up their series at Wrigley. And it's basically one of those instances where the Mets are trying to avoid a sweep, but they're trusting Cookie Carrasco, who, as Brian mentioned, is coming off shoulder inflammation, did not look good in his first start, gave up 5 runs in 5 innings against the Guardians, who haven't been hitting anybody this season. While that's appetizing to ride the Cubs, I'm not necessarily sure that I want to trust Kyle Hendricks in his first start since July 5th. You know, he supposedly feeling much stronger. His fastball's got a little more zip to it, but I want to see it first. Normally, at least in the previous decade, Kyle Hendricks, with the wind blowing in, was automatic Cubs backing and automatic under. We'll see what happens in 2023. He'll presumably be on a pitch count too, which means that the Cubs bullpen's going to be in the mix. Marcus Stroman saved them last night, so they could be fresh. But I don't love this matchup for the under, even with the wind blowing in. And it should be noted that Hendricks has had trouble with guys that could get in the lineup for the Mets that aren't their typical heavy hitters. Tommy Pham, 7 for 22 against him with 2 home runs. Vogelback, 5 for 11. Escobar, 5 for 14. We'll see if they get in the mix for Buck Showalter. If other guys start hitting, New York certainly under pressure to try to avoid a series sweep, even with the wind expected to be blowing in and conditions cold. I'm going to go to the window with the over here on 7.5 runs. That's my best bet. Tail it or fade it. It's up to you.
Tony Mejia bringing the goods here. Next up, our three-hole hitter again, Tokyo Brandon. Guys, again, KBO. He does Japanese baseball and MLB as well. Tokyo Brandon, Thursday slate here. We got day action. We got night action. What are you looking as your best bet for the show?
Thanks, Drew. For my best bet, I am going to go to the gift that keeps on giving. Before I get to my best bet, though, like Mr. De Niro, Tony Mejia mentioned, we do have some specials at Wager Talk going on. There's another special that he didn't mention, which is Thursday half off everything. So on Thursday, any capper, any place on the wagertalk.com website, everything is half off. I've been eyeing some Asian baseball games that the lines are not out yet, but there are two games that I definitely want to put a 5% play on. So when you see this, I might have a 5% play out in Asian baseball, so you could go grab that. I'm the number one capper, all sports profit the last 7 days at Wager Talk. So things are going pretty good right now. Let's get to the best bet. The gift that keeps on giving is the wonderful Oakland A's. They have one major league player on their roster, and the rest are single or double A at best. And Brent Rooker's doing all right for them. He's actually statistically leading several hitting categories in the league in Major League Baseball. But besides him, you have a bunch of double A, single A guys. The pitching staff is not much better, actually. Today, Sears goes on the mound, who's probably their best pitcher. And when your best pitcher has a 4.99 ERA, that's kind of saying something. His whip is actually pretty good at 1.15. But, you know, your starting pitcher can only take you so far, and they have one of the worst bullpens in the game. Their collective bullpen FIP in the last 10 days is 4.65. But even worse than that, their lineup, WOBA, which is weighted on base percent, is 230, which is just terrible. Compare that to Seattle, who actually doesn't have the best lineup in the league, but their collective lineup WOBA for the last 10 days is 326, and they're pretty mediocre, to be honest. The Seattle Mariners are just, they're pretty mediocre, but when they play the A's, they look like, the Bronx Yankees. So the gift that keeps on giving, when Oakland loses, which they have lost 41 out of 51 games, the majority of those games they're losing by 2 runs or more. So I'm going back to the well, and I'm laying 1.5 with the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners have perhaps the best bullpen in the entire league. Even with a mediocre lineup, the best bullpen in the league will take you pretty far. And the A's, even though they do have their best starter on the mound today, they couldn't hit themselves out of a paper bag. They're a bunch of double-A players playing in the major leagues. So I'm going with the Seattle Mariners -1.5. That's my best bet for the game. Again, go to my page at wagertalk.com, any cappers page. Tony, Brian, everything is half off for half off Thursday. So take advantage of some of those deals, and let's make some money today.
Thanks for that, Tokyo Brandon. Guys, I'll follow it up here. Last, hopefully not least, at least, hey, maybe we get more winners than losers. I'm going to the battle between the 1993 inaugural MLB teams, and that's the Miami Marlins and the Colorado Rockies. 3:10 Eastern, so an early start. Do note that. Don't be getting this bet in too late, guys. Garrett versus Freeland, two lefties going after it. And it looks like in early market trading here, it is about a -$1.25. That's the fish as the road favorite, 10.5 the total. I'm actually going up and over. Of course, it's double-digit total here for a good reason. We're a mile high in Colorado, the best hitting park in baseball. And a couple reasons why I particularly like this matchup. We get the Marlins, who are better against lefties, Freeland being a lefty, by over 110 team OPS points. On base plus slugging percentage, way higher against lefties. They're facing a lefty here. And we also get the Rockies, which this is a multi-year trend here, guys. Their team OPS at home is 130 points higher so far this year than on the road. And Colorado's a better bet at home for sure, but Freeland's velocity also dropped in his last start. So that's something I have circled as well. I almost bet the Marlins here, but even more so because it's Garrett's first time, the Marlins starting pitcher in Coors Field. I like fading that angle as well. So we got a lot of fades here on the mound, which is putting me on the over of 10.5 as the total. Plus, it's day action in Colorado, guys. So Miami Marlins, Colorado Rockies, over 10.5 is my best bet for the show. That's going to do it. And guys, again, a reminder here, Thursdays at Wager Talk, half off all daily packages. Great day to check it out. So for Bryan Power, Tony Mejia, and Tokyo Brandon, check them all out at Wager Talk. I am Drew Martin. We will be back for Friday's show, guys. Taking a look at the Friday night slate. Any thoughts on the weekend coming up? You don't want to miss the Friday show. So come back and join us live right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We'll have Robert and Joe behind the scenes. I'll be here holding it down with 3 of the best MLB handicappers. So come back and join us 2 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. That does it for today's show. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets.